sir. That's like a declaration of war. Well, I knew it. I just knew it. It felt like it all along. Like we would finally get the FEDAL. There were some little surprises along the way, but nothing too shocking here, folks. FEDAL XXXIX. We finally get it. It's like the Super Bowl, but 10 times better. Today on the show, we catch up on some stuff we missed before. We talk about the Federer-Wawrinka match a bit, but we mainly talk about the Rafa and Roger matchup that is to come. And we'll talk a little bit about the matches tomorrow as well. Hold on to your horses, folks. We're about to enter the most exciting phase of the 2019 French Open. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your host, Matt Bradshaw, graced and gifted by the tennis gods with the tenacity of Rafa Nadal, treating every minute of the show as if it's my very last, and with the tennis IQ and almost the hand skills of Roger Federer. All wrapped up in one man, one package, one host. Me. First off, let me just get one thing out there really quick. Novak Djokovic hasn't dropped a set, but he may tomorrow. Just want to apologize. I didn't say, I said, oh, Federer's the only one left. Djokovic has kind of quietly snuck through the top half of the draw because so much focus has been on the bottom of what Roger and Rafa are doing on the bottom half of the draw. And I think that's kind of happened to everyone watching, even the noted tennis experts. I actually noticed a tweet from a lady on Twitters, and she was saying how, is it just me? Or when you watch Djokovic play these early round matches, it's not very intriguing. It's not like if it's Djokovic taking all of his game. This is not exactly what she said, but this is the gist of it. It's more exciting to see Novak take all of his game and put it up against a top player. When you see him in the early rounds, she said, don't you just feel like, is it over yet? Can we just give him the win already? And I thought to myself, yeah, I guess that's kind of true. I think it's definitely true for a lot of people. I like to watch Djokovic all the rounds. But again, a lot of that is because I like to see what he's doing so I can try to figure out what to expect and see how the better players are going to match up when they finally meet Djokovic. And to some degree, maybe I feel like that about Rafa a little, although I feel like watching Rafa maybe a little more fun than watching Djokovic. I don't know, it's a tough call. Watching Federer, definitely, it's a whole nother thing. I think most tennis fans will agree you'll happily pay money to see Federer play anyone because you never know you do know. You know he's going to do something awesome. You always know that Federer is going to do something very special. It's like Michael Jordan. You would go see Peter Tennis Freeman always says this all the time from Kunstrom Coaching. He says back in the 90s, you would have paid to see the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan against any team. Didn't matter if they were first or last because you knew Michael Jordan was always going to deliver something very special, no matter what. Roger's one of those very special athletes. By the way, that lady, it turned out that she's a pro tennis player. She's on the tour. She's like 300 in the world. So she's kind of still in the minor leagues a little, but and she's got a very lovely one-handed backhand. Maybe I'll flash up her Instagram and you can go follow her. I can't remember her name, but I'll put it on the screen and I'll say her name next time we do a show when I have a chance to look it up. Very nice one-handed backhand. You should go look at her Instagram just to see video of her hitting an incredible one-hander. I was gonna catch up on stuff that I forgot, dropped a racket, but first let's take a look at the weather. L-weather? L-weather. On the screen, you will see the weather from June 5th, 2011. That was the last time Roger and Rafa played at the French Open. Now, a lot of what Roger is going to try to do, he was trying to do. He had Paul Annacone, the Anaconda, back then, by the way. And that was his coach at the time. Now he's on Tennis Channel, obviously. OBV, as the teenagers say. And they were implementing pretty much the same kind of game plan you're going to see Roger put in this time around. And Federer came very close. I believe he loses the first set 7-5, and it really felt like a set he could have won because he was up 5-2. He was up 5-2 with a set point, and then he hit a drop shot to the Rafa backhand, which is the one you want to go for. You want to go for, remember, so it would be my forehand upper corner by the net, but it's Rafa with a two-hand backhand up there like that. And so Roger puts a drop shot there, and if you watch it, find the highlights on YouTube. 5-2, Roger's up, Rafa's serving, set point, the drop shot goes to the two-hand backhand in the little corner, and it's just it's I can't even remember. Does he miss it or does Rafa make it? I think Roger misses the line or something. Anyways, it doesn't matter because it doesn't look like as good of a drop shot as what we're used to seeing Roger hit today. His drop shot wasn't as good in 2011. So just put that out there. Maybe things would be different on that alone. The second set, Roger's down but manages to break back. He has to do this in pretty much every set of that match. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but Roger has to break at least 3-4 times in that match. Like I said, he breaks pretty much every set of the match. Roger has to break back and ultimately loses in a tiebreak. It really felt like Roger absolutely should have won up 5-2. Roger in that second set, Roger really could have won before the tiebreak. Maybe he could have won in the tiebreak, and then he wins the third set 7-5 after again being down a break, coming back, breaking, and serving it out at 6-5. By the fourth set, you've played an incredible match, and you're starting to feel exhausted because you were down 2-1 in a fourth set. And Roger, I think he's up 40-love in the first game to break serve, so love 40 Rafa. Doesn't break, ultimately loses that fourth set 6-1 to Rafa, and a nice French baguette for his troubles. So you can understand that Roger would have been kind of drained mentally and very emotionally because, again, he played, that's the closest he's come to beating Rafa at the French Open in 2011. And now it's very different because he's had Edberg as coach. So the volley, sensing when to go to the net, everything about the Federer net game and how to approach, when to approach, it's all so much better than in 2011. It's better at the drop shot for sure. He's got the new racket, 7 inches bigger head size, which is a lot. It's a massive jump, which gives him a lot more power on every shot, really, but especially we notice it the most on the backhand. Roger's backhand is just better. I think Roger would tell you that he is a better tennis player all around today than he was in 2011. All of these things make a big difference, and a reason why I think Roger really does have a chance to win. But another thing that helps just as much almost is something that's totally out of Roger's control, and that is the weather. So we go to the weather. June 5th, 2011. The high was 78. The low was 60. Fast forward to the weather this week. Friday, the day that Roger and Rafa will play. The low, 51. That's a 9-degree swing. If you do Celsius, I'm sorry, but it's very cold. 51 is about as cold as a French Open's ever been. Now, it's not going to be 51. They're not going to play at any time where it's going to be near 51. It's going to be more like 64 degrees. Again, this is pretty cold. This is not what Rafa likes. This is like the weather when Rafa lost to Soderling. Maybe on the next show I'll actually look up the exact weather that date, but it was a colder day like that. And without the sun speeding things up, and most of all for Rafa, giving him the high bounce. That's part of what I noticed in 2011. Roger does a good job to fight the high bouncing ball, but I think it just wears him down a little bit more, and that's how you get the 6-1 fourth set. You know, at Wimbledon, if Roger's down 2-0 like he was at 2011 in the French Open final to Rafa, you know he's going to have plenty of energy to come back. But out there, chasing around that high bounce, having to do all the extra footwork, to set up and take that ball earlier before it can get too high and be too much trouble for Roger to handle, having to drop back at times, but also having to constantly fight for court positioning and get back up on the baseline to dictate play. Roger did a good job taking the ball as early as you could hope to against the high-bouncing Rafa ball at the French Open on the clay on a hot day. So on that day when they play, a lot of rhyming, we're talking at least 10 degrees higher. The high that day was 78. I'm not sure what time they played and if it was at the high that point, but 12-degree difference, 66 versus 78. So let's just assume we get the high, then, although we probably won't if they play. So according to the weatherunderground.com website, it looks like it's going to be between 60 and 64 degrees Fahrenheit when Roger and Rafa play on Friday, with a chance of rain. So all this is going to slow the ball down. That will hurt Roger to some degree. But I think he'll take it. I think it's a great trade-off because the lowering of the bounce is going to help Roger more than the slowing of the ball is going to hurt him. Now, tomorrow, let's talk a little bit. Let's shift away from that. That's my main point on there. The weather conditions, overall, it's going to be a big bonus for Roger, and it's going to be something we haven't really seen, Roger and Rafa, on a kind of cold day. A cold day, really, compared to what we would usually expect, the typical weather. One more thing on the weather conditions. We could get somewhere around 20-mile-per-hour winds. That's significant. And who does it hurt? It's tough to call. Both of these guys are able to adapt and adjust in windy conditions. You could maybe make a case that Rafa would be more bothered than Roger, but I'd say this it's just going to be even. It's going to nullify things. I think we're still going to get a great match. If anything, it'll benefit the server and who has the better serve. I think when you throw that ball up now, if the wind is ridiculous and it's moving your toss, that's pretty awful. But I don't think it'll be like that. I think it'll be more, the wind will just, if you're hitting a slice serve, it's going to move just a little bit more because of the wind, or a kick or whatever. Any kind of serve you do, I think it'll be a little harder on the returner. And since Roger is by far the better server, oh, and by the way, one more thing on serving. Just want to say, Stan's first serve on the break points, I know a lot of people are like, Matt, you jinxed Roger. Maybe I did jinx Roger. But the Stan serve, Stan was able to come up with very, very good serves. Out of all those break points opportunities that Roger had, I'm sure he would have wanted to convert more, but he converted enough to win. So he got through. That's good enough, and he did great on his own serve. I'm sure that Roger would have liked to have done better, but he will be happy knowing that he played pretty well on those points. Only maybe 2 of the, what was it? Roger didn't convert on like 12 break points or something. It was a pretty high number. I can only think of about 2 points, maybe 3, where Roger didn't play very well. Other than that, he did a good job. He didn't do anything wrong. Stan just came up with incredible play after incredible play, just like he did with Tsitsipas. And you kind of knew, especially after going through so much with Tsitsipas, if you're Federer, you're comfortable, you're not going to panic and think, oh my God, I can't break. By the way, listen to this clip. This is freaking hilarious. Roger Federer letting everyone know what he thinks of Mats Wilander.
A lot of break points, found it difficult to convert on today, and closing out was pretty difficult. You had a couple of double faults, I think, in the last game. I was talking earlier to Mats Wilander, who says actually as you get older in your career, the pressure does become more difficult to manage. And I wonder for you whether closing things out now is becoming a little tougher.
No, it's not. And send Mats my best.
Great segue there. I had to play that because it's all about, breakpoint conversion. Anyways, I think Roger won't feel so bad, and I think in the moment he wasn't feeling so bad because he knows, I'm missing a lot of opportunities, but I won those 2 tiebreakers. I'm up 2-1, and Stan is going to start to get more and more tired, and he's not going to come up with so much magic on breakpoint. And credit Roger, he earned break points on, I think it was 9 different games in that match. So, I mean, they could have been beat down city if Roger would have converted a little bit more. It really could have changed the whole match. Could have won in straight sets, been out of there a lot faster. Oh, but so my point was really quick on serves. Rafa's not going to come up with the first serve magic like Stan was. Rafa is not hitting the same firepower as Stan. On the ground strokes from the baseline, Rafa will. But again, that kind of helps Federer. Just like playing Struffy Struff might help playing Sasha Zverev. You played a big, strong guy who's... the funny thing is Struff comes a lot to net, and he's really good at net. Sasha's starting to come to net more often, and he probably should to save energy. Will he do it against Djokovic? I'm not so sure. Djokovic, is he the best? Does he hit the best passing shots in the whole world, maybe? He's close. He's one of the best ever. Not sure if Zverev will do it, but still, playing a big guy with a lot of power like Struff, a good prep for Joker. Playing a guy who falls back and can still hit winners from anywhere because he's so powerful like Stan, a great prep for Roger. And I know it's a lefty serve and it swings, so that complicates things a little, but overall, Stan has a better serve. So real quick, the weather tomorrow, it looks like a high of 67, a low of 56. By the time all the matches are happening, it's going to be like 62 or 64. That's enough of the weather. This is not a weather show. So think Soderling beating Nadal all those years ago in cooler conditions where the ball is not exploding, it's not moving as fast, it's not jumping as high. So it was already nullified a little bit by the height of Soderling. And Soderling, stronger to hit harder than Rafa, even though Rafa hits very hard, can hit harder, can easily hit winners compared to Rafa, where now it's a little more difficult to hit winners in slow conditions on clay. Who does this hurt the most tomorrow? I think Dominic Thiem, because Dominic Thiem moves back so much and produces power from far back, whereas Khachanov is going to be able to produce more power in these conditions and hit winners more easily. So watch out. Dominic Thiem's already had a lot of long matches. If this is a long match and Khachanov can actually get in it, unlike Gael Monfils was able to, and challenge, Dominic Thiem could be in a little danger here. Novak Djokovic, on the other hand, Sasha Zverev is going to be pretty tired. But I still think Sasha will be able to produce a pretty good match if he just keeps doing what he's been doing. He's been playing pretty well. Djokovic hasn't been challenged yet, just like with Rafa. I mean, it's a good thing. Djokovic has been dominant, but like I said, in some of these matches, he doesn't look like his very best, and he's not really being challenged to have to get to his very best. No one's putting the pressure on him to do that right away. If Sasha can come out and play great, these weather conditions might help him a little, but Djokovic hits the ball cleaner than everyone else, except for Roger. They're pretty close in the cleanliness. Djokovic's power, kind of like with Roger. Another reason why I don't feel like the slower conditions will hurt Roger as much as Rafa, because Roger's power is from the footwork and the preparation in the court position. He hits the ball hard, pretty hard, not as hard as other guys, but he takes it so early with his timing. It's not just about footwork. You know, Rafa has great footwork too, but Federer has such great timing that he can move in, especially with a lower bounce. I think Roger will be able to do a lot of damage to Rafa in the conditions, whereas Rafa will lose a little sting on the balls that he relies on when he's further back. Djokovic, the same deal. His power, a lot of times, obviously he likes to move back and can hit hard enough to stay alive, and it's mostly about his movement and his flexibility where he keeps the defense alive, but he's always looking to hurt you by moving in. So is Rafa as well, but Rafa sets things up with the power from deep in the court. I think it hurts him a little more than Djokovic. Djokovic won't be as hurt. Sasha Zverev probably going to lose. Oh, we are running out of time. I had to teach this morning. Now I have to teach again. Let's run through a couple of stories that we forgot last time. And then tomorrow we'll talk about the matches. Do I have to go anywhere? I don't think I have to go anywhere tomorrow. Thank God. So we'll have a great show. Tomorrow we'll look deeper at the Roger-Rafa matchup tomorrow. We'll really preview it, obviously, because it's the day before. So we'll get into that more tomorrow. Let's do a couple things really quick. This was the story about Team and Serena. Dominic Team said, actually, I wasn't angry or frustrated. Maybe for 2 minuten or so. It is just the principle. It doesn't matter. It is me who sits in there. I still made a wrong statement. I said that I'm not a junior anymore, but even if a junior is in there, other players has to wait. It is a matter of course, which is a great point, by the way. Dominic's right. You shouldn't even make a junior player stop in the middle of their presser and kick them out. It's just rude. Oh, by the way, the ladies on The View just said plain crazy stuff about the Serena thing. You know what? Play that clip really quick, or the audio, so we don't risk getting in trouble with them of all people.
So they ended the press conference of men's player Dominic Thiem early to accommodate her. But he wasn't happy, apparently, and said it shows that Serena has a bad personality. Listen, man, don't nobody know who you are. Yeah. You may be big in the tennis world, but this is a big deal that she was out this early. People want to know what's happening, how's she doing, and I don't actually think she wanted to talk to anybody about losing. Oh, yes, let's talk about my loss so early in the French Open. I don't think that was her plan. Don't blame her.
Yeah.
Stop being a bonehead. Don't blame her.
I have a little self-awareness here. Serena Williams is right now in a class by her own, and maybe one day you'll be the king of tennis. But right now, we don't know who you are.
Yeah, and I was exactly. I was actually surprised that Roger Federer actually came out and also it was sort of defending Team's position and said, you know, this is unfair.
He should know better.
He should know better. Serena is the queen.
Keep in mind, Whoopi Goldberg is the person last year who said, you know, Rafa never gets in trouble when he smashes his rackets, but Serena does because she knows so much about tennis, because Rafa's never smashed a racket in his life. And then listen to, I can't remember the other lady's name, but it's like they literally think Serena is a queen. And not just like the Queen of England, you know, because the Queen of England doesn't have the kind of power they're trying to give to Serena here. It's like they think she's the Queen of Dragons, like Game of Thrones queen. She should be able to do whatever she wants. I mean, thank God she is not the queen. Can you imagine how terrible life would be if Serena dictated everything just on a whim? Everything about your life she was in control of? It would be a living nightmare. Anyways, try to stay calm. I got really distracted. I was preparing for a show, looking at tennis stuff, and somebody sent me that clip and said, Matt, you got to see this. And I watched that clip from The View, and I was so upset and was just so focused on that for so long. What was wrong with me? It was during Federer Wawrinka. That it was the rain delay when they stopped playing. I watched that, and I totally missed it. They started playing again. They'd already played like 2 games before I realized it was back on. So, jeez. Back to Dominic Thiem. Is it a matter of course? It also shows a bad personality, in my opinion. I'm 100% sure Federer, Rafa would never do something like that. Absolutely true. Roger, Rafa, bigger stars than Serena, would never do that. There's more to it, but we're running out of time. Shameful French Open fan shocks tennis world with disgusting act. What is it? It's kind of funny, but if you actually saw it in person, you'd be pretty upset and think, oh man, that's really messed up. For the second time in as many weeks as Roland Garros, an adult spectator has snatched a souvenir towel out of the hands of a child. After Madison Keys' 4th-round victory over Katerina Siniakova on Monday, the American star spotted some kids. She goes from the towel. A man comes over and goes, I didn't even think of that. I just have it there because I'm about to go to the court, so I got my towel ready. But it makes sense. Man comes over and takes the towel from the little kid. To the point where Madison Keys is like, what are you doing? And it happened more than once. Freaking crazy. This is a public service announcement. People, do not steal souvenir towels from little children. Unless you're another child. Then, fight. Have a fist fight. That is perfectly fine. A child versus a child, it's a fair fight. Grown man versus child, not very good. What else we got? Oh, we're out of time. We got to go. Last thing. We're trying to catch up on things from last show, and we're missing out on things for this show. Incredible. By the way, tomorrow we'll have some exclusive stuff. Like, we'll do the normal show, but then when the music hits, it'll stop for everyone. But if you're one of our patron saints of Coffee Break Tennis, one of our Patreon subscribers, we'll have additional show tomorrow. The show will continue. It'll keep going for you. How will that work? There'll be a special link that only you can see at patreon.com/Coffee Break Tennis. If you're not one of the patron saints, please help the show grow. Help Coffee Break Tennis be the biggest thing in the tennis world. All right, the last thing, hit the music because we're getting out of here. What did Rafa say about playing Federer? It's kind of interesting. Of course, after having Raja in front for the semifinals, it's an extra thing. We share the most important moments of our careers together on the court facing each other. So it is another episode of this, and happy for that. Excited? No? Will be a special moment, and let's try to be ready for it. It's always a big match against him, the level of tennis that you need to play, always the highest. And I'm playing well, but I need to play very well against him. So I hope to be ready to make that happen. And he said one more thing that I thought was more interesting than that. This is it. He came back on clay because he's a player who's comprehensive. He plays well on all of these surfaces. And on clay, he has good chances of winning. One thing is that he feels physically ready. He's coming back because he wants to do so, and if he feels good in shape physically, well, he should not leave out the main part of the season. That's his main reason. It's going to be a very special match for him, for me, so it's always been special matches, but here it's going to be even more special, more specific, more particular, important match. Indeed, he will be ready to give his best, and I will do. It's 2 days away, and I'm excited like it's going to happen in an hour. We'll be back tomorrow with a longer and better show.